This presentation will be focusing on the benefits of exercising regarding the reduction of stress in your daily life. So, taking a deep look and understanding what exercising can do, how it could limit those stresses in your life, what type of workout techniques and routines can you do to specifically isolate stress and really reduce that, and also looking at different scenarios and case studies that have been found that actually have proof of exercising reducing these types of stresses, and what was done, and what type of workouts were done, and what type of scenarios were these people in to really reduce that stress and focus on maintaining a healthier lifestyle. So when we look at stress, we have some main functions of stress, particularly related to the impacts of a certain person's body, the physical, the mental, and the emotional impacts. And of those, you have subcategories of different impacts and situations to where we need to focus on in order to eliminate these types of negatives that come from stress, and identify what can be done to improve these types of situations and scenarios in your daily life. So when you look at physical, restless sleep is one of the big ones to start off with in the physical section. Not being able to get the daily hours of sleep needed for the body to function properly, interrupting that, causing different health issues and health-related risks. One of those potentially being the digestive issues. So not being able to break down foods properly, also seeing potential weight loss or weight gain, depending on the person and the situation. With that also, you'll see general energy loss and fatigue. As your days go on and you don't have that sleep and that full rest from the day before, you'll definitely start to see some impacts into your daily life that come from having that stress. And another big one is the risk of disease, anywhere from heart issues, strokes, high blood pressure, those kind of things that typically come from the stress and typical wear and tear on your body from that stress, causing you over time to potentially have these types of risks. When you move on to the mental portion, you can generally see some of those diseases that come from memory loss or memory loss itself due to heavy impacts of stress. You'll see daily confusion, when you're at work and you might have that gap or that lost sense of information. Generally comes from that impact of stress, along with the concentration issues, not being able to concentrate and perform at your normal peak. Another impact when we look at the body of stress is the emotional impacts. Feeling of that overwhelmment, always heightened sense of impatience and urgency due to the stresses that are impacting your mental feelings and emotions. Constant frustration, not being able to carry out the tasks appropriately because you're always stressed out, and your typical lack of humor, and your daily emotional changes, mood swings, things outside of your normal nature when you're stress-free, that typically overwhelm and attack your body to not have you perform the way that you should be in your daily life. So some of the positive impacts that come from exercising when we talk about reducing those types of stresses. When you work out, you have an increased production of endorphins in the body. When they talk about these endorphins, they're typically referred to as a runner's high. But with these, you get that sense of relief, you get that sense of motivation, and you get that relieved feeling after working out, which generally eliminates that stress feeling that you got pre going to the gym or running or whatever your selection of exercising would be. And with that comes improved cognitive functions, being able to think and interact the way that you would be able to do in a stress-free environment. being able to think about those tasks and perform at a higher level after working out, because you had eliminating those stresses. And with that, the stress reduction, that feeling of relief brings on a better sense of being, and being able to perform and live in a happier environment from a result of going to the gym or doing your daily run or your daily exercise. It's also a big defense against those diseases that I brought up in the last slide. Being able to really attack these types of diseases and eliminate those type of possibilities from coming up in your life. Staying healthy, eating right also is a main function, but focusing on the cardiovascular health, white blood cells, being able to stay healthy and keep those risks down. What else comes with that is the improved concentration. Like I said, when you have that lack of concentration from that stress, you become more engaged with your environment, engaged in what you're trying to say, what you're trying to speak to. Really having that strong sense of mental capacity now that you've eliminating all those thoughts and concerns that the being stressed out brings you. And then one of the bigger important ones is your improvement of sleep. Eliminating that restless leg syndrome, eliminating that waking up in the middle of the night, tossing and turning, getting that full body of sleep so that your body can be well rested and you're able to carry out your regular routine as you would stress-free. So for the current studies, we look at the polls that were taken from the ADAA, the Anxiety Depression Association, looking at the different stress reduction methods that were pulled from different selection of people. Looking at the first selection of the stress coping methods, we see that exercising takes 14% of those that were polled. Isolating all the different individual methods that people had chosen, exercising looks to be one of the main ones that people turn to in terms of reducing stress. Communicating with support systems, so having an open line of communication with your family, with your friends, significant others, being able to talk through the stresses that are being caused in your lives seem to be the number one method that people turn to, with sleeping being the number two in terms of being able just to sleep it off, trying to get that rest and waking up the next day refreshed and eliminating that. But exercising as well as eating and media entertainment come shortly behind that in terms of some of the positive methods for reducing stress. Another ADAA poll that was used with the same survey group is looking at what type of exercises were used to reduce that stress. So outside of that other category, you look at the main exercise being walking, followed by running and yoga, the three main parts outside of that group of others, whether it be going to the gym or doing individual tasks or whatever that case may be. Walking is definitely the number one that people turn to really look to reduce that stress and clear their mind, to try and improve their physical and mental health. So when you look at that, you have running and yoga also isolated by those poll surveys. So those that wanted to share that information, really isolating these three as a means to that anyone can turn to in efforts to reduce the stress in their daily life. Another study that was done looks at caregivers that took care of the Alzheimer's and dementia patients. There's a study conducted of about 68 patients that were divided into two groups. One given a weekly routine of exercises, 40 minutes per day for 3 to 5 times a week, and the other group was given really no difference in their daily activity, just doing what they normally do not going out of their way to actually go through that exercise and that technique. And as a result, coming out of that study, this was I believe a month-long study. Group 1 realized a reduction in the BMI, body mass index, cardiovascular, and stress improvements. 80% of that group 1 actually maintained between 90 to 120 minutes of exercise activity during their weeks. So really carrying out that 3 to 5 times per week. And group 2 actually showed no change to their implicated stress, with some actually having more stress due to additional stresses that have came through their daily life. So you can see, breaking it down into these types of studies, that exercising really does have an effect and an improvement to those that actually take the time and effort to go and actually perform an exercise, whatever it may be, because you can see the result here not only from the physical but also the emotional and the stress improvements that come with it. So some techniques, to stay motivated and to really drive that that working out effort. A lot of the times, you'll see that staying active and staying motivated with how busy and how crazy our lives can be, it's tough to really stay on track. So one of the main ways to stay motivated is just to create a goal. And like we look at in business, you can create a SMART goal, a defined, short-term descriptive goal to really get yourself out there and stay motivated, stay tasked with staying physical, whether it be running around the block 3 to 5 times a week, improving and increasing that run from half a mile to a mile, from a mile to a mile and a half, whatever the case may be, and also then looking at your long-term goals. Maybe you want to eventually run a 5K, or you want to get to some sort of goal, something that keeps you motivated and wanting to continue on and to stay physically fit. Another way to stay motivated is to really mix it up, and what I mean by that is changing the routines. Maybe only run a couple of days and then walk on the odd days. Maybe go to the gym and incorporate weights. Just muscle confusion, keeping your body changing and adapting to different things, staying looking forward to changes in your routine so that you don't get stagnant and you don't start to shy away from actually staying fit and going to the gym or staying with your running routine. Another one is picking somebody to go with. A lot of the times you see a lot of the people that don't like to exercise. They might have a lack of motivation because you don't want to go alone. Find that person that you can go with to really increase that motivation, not only for you but for the other person. Create challenges within each other. Try and drive to something not only for you but for that person that you're working out with. So keep that that motivation and that want to keep going. And one of the other ones, one that people typically turn to when their lives get busy, is eliminate that "I can't today." Your life is always hard. You have a lot of things going on, but try and fit that physical fitness into your schedule. Maybe scheduling your workouts, scheduling things around your workouts, whatever the case may be. To make sure that you actually make it either to the gym or make it to that run or whatever, to your yoga class. Making sure that you continue to do these things and stay motivated and stay healthy, to make sure that you eliminate that stress in your daily life. And that is it. The main references here that you see are to the case studies that were presented in the slideshow, as well as all the information provided on the slideshow today. I thank you for reviewing my presentation, and I hope to see you out there physically fit and or at the gym.